exercise. You have Kyle and Mira from Roosevelt with Couple Bear, right? Yeah. We'd love to hear a little bit about yourself and then take us through the exercise. Feel free to, you can sit down, speak.
We're gonna get you a second chair.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm Kyle, and this is Mara, and we are both editors for the 20 at Roosevelt. Unfortunately, Maya, who is our editor-in-chief, will not be joining us here tonight because she's sick. But we are going to read your message about having these field shots started. This is a statement from Maya. The newspaper started at the beginning of last year. I was devastated because I didn't get a position on student council. But one day, Miss Fields came into my classroom saying, I know some of you might be sad you didn't get into student council. Well, maybe you can think of a new position for the student council. Once I heard that, I knew it was my time to shine. I grabbed a paper, a pencil, and started to write. Within a minute, I had an idea, a student newspaper. I told my teacher, Miss Isla, that Miss Fields, the teacher who led student council, about it, and they loved it. Very soon, we had our first meeting in the newspaper building. This was an amazing lesson on how to never give up and always come up with new ideas. And now I'm speaking for myself. I'm part of the editor crew on the newspaper, and I help Maya and Kyle. The newspaper at Roosevelt is an amazing community with many eager students who want to help out. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we meet up in Miss Fields' room. We all work on writing the columns we were assigned, and the editors edit all of them before our big printing party. I'm now going to give you a little information about how the newspaper runs. Each column writes their own article and the way they like to do it. For example, I help edit the sports column and the defense column. I love being part of the newspaper because it helps me with my writing and getting new ideas. I also like being part of something bigger at first. Mira and I are very happy to share our weekends and now do the publish.
You'd like us to stand? Just 1 second.
I have a question. We're your current teachers.
My current teacher is Mr. Weaver, and my teacher is Mr. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Right, take this little.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both very much.
Here's a copy of our thanks.
Hey, thank you. I love it. Thank you. That is awesome. We'll share it. Thank you. All right, we'll know for the minutes I got a copy of the Teddy Times. Roll call, item 3. Trustee Mustafa.
I'm here.
Trustee Buchetti.
I'm here.
Trustee J. Howard?
I'm here.
Yeah. Trustee Brown. Here. I am here as well. Trustee LaVoy. All right, approval of the agenda, item 4. We'll take a motion to approve. Thank you, Tanya. Is there a second?
Okay.
Nicole, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes 5-0. Item 5, are there any public statements related to agenda items?
Yes, there are.
What agenda item?
Can I get back?
Sure.
Yep. Go on.
All right, item 6, the union statement from Burlingame Education Association. Mr. Bird, I saw you somewhere. Yes.
Great. Hi, everybody. Good evening. This is actually likely the last time I'll address the board in my role as BEA president. Kidding. I've been very grateful for this opportunity to speak often and frequently in education for our certificated members. This afternoon, I actually came across a highlighted passage in a book I keep in my classroom when I moment to read it presents itself. And it's written by Karamo Brown, and it says, "Never be afraid of growing slowly, only of standing still." I highlighted that during my first year teaching in BSD. And that was 6 years ago. 5 school years later, 4 principals, 3 superintendents, and a whole pandemic after. It still rings true in my heart. The growth that we see in our students is reflective of the tireless work our teachers put in every single day. This year alone, we've had mid-year experimental pilots with learning apps such as Mural and ListenWise, as well as CRLP training and Berkeley math training. In each instance, our certificated staff have implemented our own growth mindset and have progressed to slowly implementing these tools. Our teachers have exemplified this quote by being unafraid of growing slowly and rather not standing still. We've adopted changed paces and still educating our lifelong learners in our ever-changing world. We just celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week, which is a heartfelt reminder of the impact that we have on our campuses and Burlingame community. A realistic way to show appreciation for our certificated staff would be for the board and district officials to accept our last offer at the negotiation table and allow our salaries to grow slowly rather than standing still. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bird. Item 7, is there anyone here from the CSEA for a statement? Move on to item 8. Lieutenant Silversmith.
All right, good evening. I am very excited. I'm very excited to bring forward tonight interim principal Tara Marinero. Would you please stand and come forward? All right, after a long introduction and search process, after a look for that interim and Tara accepting our nod to step up into those big shoes and then fulfilling them in a very long interview process of being an interim where we got to watch her every day and sitting through 2 panels and multiple facets of everything. I am bringing forward tonight with full honor of the board and my recommendation to drop the interim title and to give Tara the full principalship of Roosevelt Elementary School going forward, starting pending approval of the board starting tomorrow.
Right, would someone like to make a motion to approve this appointment?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Katie. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Doug. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-1.
It is a great honor to officially announce Principal Tara Marinero. Before you do your principal statement, we're going to do a quick little break so that we can do a couple pictures. So I think would your family like to come up first? Do you want to introduce them first?
Yeah, they roll in large pots. Scare my dad, scare my husband. And My aunt, my uncle, my other aunt. My cousin.
Thank you. We won't mention that our daughters go to Franklin.
Yes.
One, two, three. One more. One, two, three. Perfect.
Thank you.
The principals want one real quick? Take one, please. Principals team is now complete.
Yes.
Bottle of water in there, sure. Big bottle of water.
I can't be any tonight.
One more.
Yeah.
One more.
Sorry.
Perfect. Guys, one more. Oh, go. Everyone, Chuck, you can help too. Chuck, you can help too. Music teacher.
Thank you all for being here.
There's more,
More water. More water.
Hey, we will move on to item 9, statement of principles. Now that you're not interim, the level of expectation.
Absolutely, I know, it's funny, we happened to be going for our message and everything the same night, so it worked out very well. Thank you, everyone, I really appreciate it. Burlingame is near and dear to my heart, so, here I go with my first principal statement as official principal, not interim. So thank you so much for having Roosevelt here this evening. As we enter the final stretch of the school year, 22 days left, it's hard to believe how quickly the time has flown by. So much has happened across the district, not only at Roosevelt, but across all of our sites, which was evident by the responses from all the principals when I asked them to give me information that they thought I should talk about this evening. So touching on everything's gonna be impossible, but I'd love to take a few minutes to highlight some of the wonderful things that have been taking place across our district. First thing is, we always know that summer's around the corner, when testing begins. Testing is officially underway at all of our schools. I really want to shout out the district for helping us get everything organized this year, from headphones to testing strips. It makes a huge difference for us at the site level when that's all done. And a shout out to our amazing teachers, all the site administrators, for their careful planning and teamwork to make this testing go smoothly for the kids. Last week, I think, Mr. Bird touched on it, but we celebrated Staff Appreciation Week. I have to say it was amazing. Our families went above and beyond flowers to sweet notes, kind words. Everyone felt really supported and loved. And I think it's such a good reminder of what we do every day, kids and the whole Burlingame community, and just brings it all to fruition at the end of the year. In addition, the past few weeks, the sites have had many fun educational events. A highlighted one is Roosevelt's BMX Bike Assembly, which had a great message as well, but I think the bike assembly, the tricks were really the highlights. Across the district, there's been wildlife assemblies, music from Cole Mansion, McKinley and Washington held their multicultural nights, and many field trips. San Francisco Zoo, Library, Marine Institute, Tech Museum, and some pizza in the park for the meals. And right now, all the elementary sites are getting ready for their last Maker Madness event of the year, which is great that they're doing it across the whole district now. And the students will be able to use their engineering and design skills to build bridges. So stay tuned for that, I'm sure, on with schools with Mr. Vance. And I want to take just a quick moment to share that tomorrow night, there's members from the Roosevelt and Lincoln staff, special education teams that are going to be honored through San Mateo County's Community Advisory Committee for their outstanding work at our sites. We're really, really proud and grateful for our team members for all they do to support all of our students and for inclusion. And last but not least, it wouldn't be spring without our spring concerts. Our 4th and 5th grade students are showing off their hard work and their musical talents. These concerts are a time for the students to shine, and we're so thankful for our amazing music department and our teachers. This does not happen without BCE, and that's what makes this program possible. So I want to highlight that. And because of BCE, our kids in Burlingame have the chance to explore music from such a young age, and it really makes their learning experience richer and more well-rounded. So thank you, a big shout out to BCE and the whole music department. That was all I have this evening. Thank you, and I look forward to a great summer of work.
Item 10, the statement of the superintendent, Dr. Silverson.
All right, thank you, Principal Marinero, and that feels wonderful to say. Welcome to the club officially. You are all welcome to get up and leave. We will not. We know you all have us to celebrate. Okay, some really fun activities that we have been up to. Principal or interim principal at that time, Marinero, and I attended Special Olympics at Taylor Middle School, which was wonderful. We were also escorted by the Roosevelt Bear, which was a lot of fun. We attended the Special Olympics at Hillsborough at Crocker, which was great. I was invited by our city to be a part of the police chief interviews on May 1st, which was a wonderful opportunity. I was the only educator and non-police chief on the interview panel. So that was an eye-opening experience in itself. BIS was awarded a Kent Award on May 2nd. We'll be celebrating them at the June 10th board meeting. We're very excited to have Ms. Mural and her students there. We had a huge bike to school day, May 7th, which was wonderful. I believe it was like over 90% of Washington staff that actually attended and were on different parts of the community, which was great to see the bike bus be a part of it. So that was very exciting. On May 8th, Assistant Superintendent Paveo and I had the opportunity to present at a statewide conference for supporting inclusive practices. And we actually had a parent and a student with us, which was pretty awesome. Mr. Paveo has been attending a couple of things throughout the county since then. And it sounds like he's getting a lot of feedback about how wonderful the parent and the students both were, so including the jokes. So that's pretty awesome. Huge shout out again to the spring concerts that are still going on, and a lot of guest players. I'm hearing about bagpipes. I'm hearing about all kinds of different fun and amazing things. And also, not only for BCE and all the wonderful things that they've done, the music program is busted at the seams. Parents, I mean, it's like spilling out the hallways of people that are coming to join. So it's amazing. So thank you for all the work that everybody does to put into it. And Aaron Kerr and Chrissy Linderman and everybody that just goes above and beyond. The parent volunteers, I mean, Gretchen Kindberg, I mean, the people that put in hours and hours and hours. So thank you for all of that. Today we had our district end of the year celebration, which is always an ice cream social, and it's a lot of fun. We joked about the chocolate ice cream down the front of me, even though she gives me an apron to wear, and I still wear it lovingly. But it's a lot of fun for BEA and CSEA and administration, and we all come together and we just have ice cream and laugh and enjoy each other, play games, with prizes not bought with district money, but it is a lot of fun. We have a good time. We did the principal interviews, which were great. Tomorrow we have McKinley vice principals and our ELOP administrator interviews. Also, two more just quick shout outs. Jorge Londoño's class received an honorable mention for their artwork for Rethink Waste, which is very cool. Also, we had a student from Franklin, and I was quickly trying to pull her name, her full words. Can you say it louder? Okay. Who also received awards for her artwork. So that's very exciting as we move forward. We'll get that name. And then this Saturday, we have our bike rodeo for TK and K students targeted and first graders. And incoming TK and K we're also going to target, and it's at Washington. So we're very excited about that to welcome our new families coming in. And I just want to really thank our principals for getting our enrollment up. I think most of our principals have closed all of their enrollment completely. So that's great to get all those students re-enrolled. Because that has been a huge priority. And Deputy Superintendent Skatina and his group are working very quickly to make sure that families are going to know as soon as possible what school they will be going to. So they won't be finding out closer to school coming in. So that's exciting that they'll know if they're a Falcon or a Wildcat or anything like that. So appreciate all of that feedback from last year and the changes that we're making this year. So that's it.
Thank you very much. I'll move on to item 11, the consent agenda. We have a public comment related to consent. Mr. McLaughlin, sir.
I urge you to vote against the invoice of Sodexo for $187,799.29. As you know, in its letter dated October 29, 2024, Sodexo promised to maintain the Neutral Slice website. Pursuant to your order last month, they began serving sucrose-enriched milk products, specifically a sucrose-enriched chocolate milk product. All information related to the sucrose-enriched milk product has been concealed from the NutriSlice website. There's no information what product is being pushed on middle school students in our community. There's no information on what days this product is being pushed on children in the community. Therefore, I recommend that you vote against their invoice until they comply with their promise to maintain the NutriSlice website. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're still on item 11, consent. The consent agenda is a way for the district to consolidate many items that are considered routine business. Boards have the opportunity to review it. The staff has reviewed these items as well, recommend full approval for all of them. It is also appropriate to take any item off consent, and we can discuss it in depth at this meeting. Would anyone like to remove anything off the consent? Seeing none. Would anyone like to make the motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Nicole. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Doug. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Move on to item 12, administration, McKinley Wall Mural.
All right, good evening, Blanca. Thank you for being here tonight. You are here as the PTA art parent coordinator.
Yes, we have a.
Hi.
Hi everyone, we have a tradition at McKinley, usually the fifth graders do some kind of project, we've been doing painting like benches in the past years, we've done another mural. It's the proposed one 2 years ago, 2017, and last year we did a tile project. This year we have a wall that actually is not painted yet. And we said it's going to be a very nice idea if we gather the kids around that idea, and they got so excited. Each of the students actually worked on an idea, like brainstorming what they wanted to have on the wall painted, and
there were many of them were about space. So we decided that we'll actually incorporate that idea, since it's gonna be outside and in the North Yard, it's a playing sports. We decided, there were some ideas like that, like actually the balls, maybe planets, yeah. So after the design was completed, we went back to the students and we did like a focus group of them, and they were giving ideas what they like, what they didn't like, and that's the final proposal that we have. We are thinking if the board approves the wall, the painting, you have groups of 6 students coming from the 5th grader, so that all the 5th graders actually, all the classes can come and participate into actual painting the wall. They are super excited.
They're a very creative, wonderful group of 5th graders, and they've been very close since the start of this idea. And they're really excited to kind of see their ideas come to life in the proposed plan.
May I add a couple things?
Yes.
So prior to this coming to the board, it has come through McKinley Executive PTA, where it was passed, they would be paying for the funding. Beyond that, it will also go through, we have a board policy around volunteerism and what volunteers are allowed to do and what it will look like. They will work with that policy through the chief business official's office, including our project manager, should it be approved, and our facilities. With regards to students painting, that was something new that's just being brought up tonight. It will depend upon the type of paint and if students are allowed to touch it under the age of 18. So there's other components that we would have to look at, just so you know.
Okay.
Because we have to comply with laws and education code and all of that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So, but specific paint and all of that would be at the discretion of the district, and all of those items. So tonight, the request, I think, is just to approve this mural.
Okay.
And McKinley would be paying for the paint. And then the next part would be that the business office would be working with the McKinley PTA on the next steps.
I just have one quick question, principals on board with it?
That is correct. I should say principal and PTA both approved this project prior to it coming tonight.
Any questions? It is a voting item, but any questions? Comments? Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the McKinley wall.
Thank you, Katie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Doug. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Item 12B, DCE.
All right, good evening. This evening we are bringing forward President Jen Faber of Burlingame Community Education Foundation, who we are very excited to hear an update from this evening.
Is this? I don't need to look at this. Or will there? Oh, okay, here we go. Thank you everybody for having me. I'm Jen Faber, BCE president. We excitingly have a co-president coming in, Hugo Shaw from McKinley PTA, which I'm really excited about, but I'm here tonight to talk to you about a fundraising update. We are hoping to grant $2.8 million to Burlingame School District again this coming year. And we are closing up our fundraising efforts for this year, which when we sent in this slide, we were at about $400,000 gap to a granting goal, and we've raised about $100,000 since then, which is really exciting. But really what we're doing a lot of right now is outreaching to people and asking people to renew their gift to BCE and to start giving to BCE. So I'm happy to answer questions, but I think there's lots to celebrate here. We are hoping to continue funding in partnership with Burlingame School District 19 teachers. Last year, we helped fund the Berkeley Math program for some professional education, which was something we see as fitting with our mission goal. And one thing that I'm really excited about is we're going to be able to probably pull from our BCE endowment this summer. And so that will help supplement our grant. So TBD what that actual number will be, but that will help us, hopefully hit the $2.8 million and maybe get a little bit beyond. So we'll continue working with Dr. Silversmith on updating for that. And, you know, we also are kind of in the final wrapping of like, thank you to all of our donors, having our scholar circle parties. Lots of people from this room have been at those events. Tomorrow night, we have kind of our second leadership circle event, in downtown Burlingame. We are just trying to emphasize gratitude and emphasize that there are levels of giving that really are meaningful to our school community and our school community's budget. So happy to answer any questions, but thank you so much for having us.
Any questions?
No questions, just thank you. I mean, this is incredible, another year of success, and we know how much work it is. It's so meaningful. We heard about the music program and all the other great things that BCE does. So just thank you to you and your team and all the families that have contributed.
I would just add that we have a PE teacher and a music teacher that are presenting next, so please stay, because they will also talk about the wonderful things because of BCE. So thank you.
We'd love to do that, and thanks so much for having us.
Thank you, Jen. We're moving on item 13A, grade level presentations. Before we do that, we have a public comment. Mr. McLaughlin, sir.
As you know, fourth and fifth grade have the largest average student-teacher ratios in their classrooms of any of the grade levels in our district. As such, I was intrigued by the question of how does that affect student learning. I looked at the school accountability report cards, the CAS scores, and I put a summary of that together for you. And so first, I not only looked at Burlingame, I looked at Hillsborough as well. And if you look at K through 3, we average 22 students per classroom. Hillsborough's 19. Fourth and fifth, we jump to 29, and Hillsborough's 23. So that gap jumps from 3 to 6. There's other differences, of course. The mid-range teacher salary is 25% higher in Hillsborough. The average teacher salary is 50%, nearly 50% higher. Okay, so then I looked at the test scores. And the most exciting data point really is the third grade test score. What's phenomenal is that, well, I took the most recent data set, which is from last year, and I specifically looked at the students that graduated fifth grade last year. So this is a cohort of students that graduated fifth grade last spring. And when they were in third grade, their third grade, if you look at the math scores, it's almost identical to Hillsborough. And then you look at fourth and fifth grade, and it just, the gap just widens like a crocodile's jaw. And similarly with ELA, our students actually decline. And it coincides with the drastically increased class sizes that you impose at the fourth and fifth grade levels. I urge you to make fourth and fifth grade education a higher priority. It's an important pair of years in a student's life, and it has lied at the bottom of this district's priority for many, many years. Please invest more in our fourth and fifth grade classrooms. Class sizes do matter. It's time that we say 33 students per teacher is too many. And it's time that we say we have to get that low. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Silversmith, would you like to introduce our presenters?
Fourth and fifth grade presentation. is actually Assistant Superintendent Pavilion.
Sure, oh, my goodness. I'm happy to bring up Claudia Hyperport from Lincoln. Cameron McCoy, fifth grade educator. Renee Santo Adams, musical educator and education. And Henry Hale, a physical education teacher and a Baptist. He was on the fourth and fifth grade experience and about physical education and music in Burlingame. So I will turn it over to them and Right.
Okay, so this is, yes, for the different experience.
Ms. Heichel, can you move the microphone a little bit closer because they may not hear you on second too. That's much better. Thank you.
So, this part is the art environment community. So the environment, we did, I worked with the county of San Mateo, and we did the 4 R's of waste management, the reduce, reuse, recycle, and recover. And you can see that's my classroom, with the art, we did a lot of, different kinds of arts, different techniques. We also, the environment, that's from one of my students, for the contest. And then we also, just started a new program with the plant protectors also, and they're, go through the recycles with, little picture things, and then, excuse me, a picture of field trips to the e-waste facility. So, they're working hard in doing their environment. Field trips and design challenges, so, we went to South Carolina this year. There's a train museum, the, Young Gold, below there is, Sanchez Adobe that we also do, and then obviously the Capitol and the museum in South Carolina. The other pictures are, part of the program that, we introduced to the reuse, and they brought in old t-shirts and they made them into little backpacks and bags. And this is just the things that we do in 4th grade, and we were dogs, benchmark, mathematics, illustrated math, science, the next generation, science standards, the ground scholar science. Social studies, we use the McKinley social studies. We also have social emotional learning, SEL, the second step, it's in videos. And specials, PE, learning graphic support, music, chorus, and dance. For the learning, math highlights, number and operations, measurements and geometry, data analysis, probability, language arts highlights, reading and learning, writing organized pieces and multiple genres, speaking and listening, beginning speeches, and there's pictures, better than the book report, the novels that we read, some vocabulary, and some kids doing some math, and then the storms rising. Alright, and then science highlights, physical science, life science, earth science. Social studies highlights, California, of course, is still in 4th grade. And then I describe California's geography and regions, understanding history and cultures of California Native Americans, learn about important events in California, like the gold rush, recognizing roles in governments and citizenship. And as you can see, on the right is my kids very happy to sign to Mr. Grover. Very excited, and there is the ranges, the different kind of ranges in California, and of course missions that go along with the mission reports. And then 4th grade assessments, upper elementary spelling inventory, basic skills test, maze, benchmark, or competency assessment, illustrated math, and task, of course. I don't think we're able to see the video, but they, my kids made a little podcast, and then we used a green screen. If you send that to me, I'll accept it, so you guys can see the video. You guys ready? Okay, so this is our fifth grade experience. I'm starting out with our math standards. I'm not going to go over all of those. I think you guys can see the slide deck yourself. But the main thing is that we do everything that, you know, working up from fourth grade, but also are working on communication and math within writing and speaking and explaining is really very big in fifth grade. So that would be one of our major habits. And playing the darts, same thing. There's a lot there for fifth graders to do. We extend their writing into multi-paragraph essays within the same genres of narrative and opinion. And social studies and science. In fifth grade, the focus is on American history, and our science, the same thing before with earth science, motion, stability, energy, and then working in some engineering design that we're trying to incorporate as well. And these are our academics and expectations. So this is the curriculum we use for all of the different subject areas and then the different focuses that we have for each. And again, social studies for SEL and then our specials, which are the same district-wide. The fun stuff that fifth grade gets to do is outdoor ed. So that is our biggest field trip district-wide that fifth grade gets to do. So we go to Jones Gulch in Wahonda, and they learn about composting and taking care of the earth and all about nature. It's really their outdoor classroom for a whole week to learn about science. And it's one of the very favorite memories and trips that fifth graders get to do. And I'm just very thankful that we get to continue to do that as a district. I went as a student and I know how valuable it is, and so I'm glad that we still get to do that for our kids. We're also really happy to have VAPA this year, so that we have our roving teachers to support in VAPA. So we've gotten to do some drama, some art. We've done engineering design, and we also have the different field trips that the grade levels get to go to inspire our curiosity. And we have some cross-curricular activities that we do that are mixed in with that art. Another really fun thing that fifth graders get to do is peer revision. It's amazing, actually. Ivy Chen is wonderful, and she comes and teaches it every year, and she has her what we call puberty pups. And so they are there to, the kids get to like look at the dog sitting there really nicely if they're getting very nervous about what she's talking about. And it's very cute. So we have a different dog every day. She's amazing in what she teaches the kids, learning about their own bodies and things that they go through, as well as understanding what other people are going through. Girls and boys take this class together, and it's just important because she discusses with them that you have family members of you know, men and women in your family or non-binary or whatever, and our bodies, a lot of the things that our bodies go through are the same for quite a while, and that you just need to learn to understand what everybody is going through. She's wonderful, so I'm really glad that we've gotten to have her for the last 20 years. And that's it.
Good evening. Renee Handwriting, music teacher at Washington and Franklin Elementary Schools. Now, rather than provide a comprehensive overview of our TK grade music program, since that's a much larger thing, for tonight, I'm going to be focusing on the music education that our fourth grade students receive, since that's education. First and foremost, music education is a core subject in the state of California. It is not something extra. It is not enrichment. In accordance with the Every Student Succeeds Act in 2015, as quote, music and art, the arts in general, are a part of a well-rounded education. They're not extra, they're not enrichment, it's not icing on the cake. In fact, it is one of the integral ingredients. So, with that in mind, standards, we have them. Not everyone might be aware of that, though. There are, in fact, 11 different music standards, anchor standards, grouped into 4 categories of creating, performing, responding, and connecting. And we implement those in our program TK through 8th, but I'll be speaking more about it through the lens of 4th and 5th. So if we pop up one slide, we'll see the core music education. overarching learning goals that students go through in our 4th and 5th grade music. They receive 30 minutes of what we structure as choral music education. That's every student in the district are receiving that once a week by class. They're focusing on music fundamentals and content knowledge, anything from how they can build a sense of pulse and foster a steady beat, to how they can sing healthy, to how they can understand music literacy. They're working on collaboration, they're building leadership skills, they're finding their creative voice in whatever form that takes for them. In terms of learning modalities, what they're actually doing, we're singing, we're speaking, be it poetry and other things. We're listening actively as well as passively. We're writing, both musically as well as responding to things. We're moving, be it something like creative movement, structured body percussion with something that we're working on, folk dancing, lots of different movements taking place. Listening and improvising, composition, arranging, there are lots of different skills and things that are being worked on in the music classroom, even though it's under the umbrella of choral music education. That part of the program is supported by a weekly piano accompanist who works with those students once a week. And then we leverage that work into our very exciting concert seasons in the winter and the spring, which are happening right now. We had Franklin and Lincoln last week. A couple of us in the room were Washington's last night. Lincoln and Roosevelt later this week, and Hoover next week for our 5th graders. So an exciting time, it's a busy time. As Jen and others mentioned earlier, none of this program would be possible without the significant support that we have from BCE. They fund a significant part of our program. They logistically and monetarily support a lot of what we've got going on. A big part of why we're able to have something so well-rounded and so developed is because of the support from BCE. It's what distinguishes the kind of program that we have from other places, other districts in the peninsula as well as the broader Bay Area. Now, in addition to the choral music education, 4th and 5th graders also receive an instrumental music education, which is an elective opportunity. So not all students participate in it, but most do at each school site. I'll talk a little bit more about the numbers at the end of that. These are structured as weekly pull-out lessons, half an hour, very similar to what they receive by class. It's just organized by instrument sections. So your beginning clarinet class comes, receives their clarinet lesson, trombones come and get their class, such and such. Those students have the opportunity to participate in a mixed ensemble via a 0 period in the morning once a week. So they can have the opportunity to get more of an authentic band experience before they get to the middle school, where that is the primary structure of the curriculum and the ensemble. But again, that is voluntary, the 0 period. So we have some students that participate in that are a part of the program, and then there are some 4th and 5th graders that are not a part of it, only receiving the choral part of the program that I talked about earlier. Another exciting thing to highlight is that over the past 4 years, we've experienced 38% increase in participation in our 4th and 5th grade instrumental program, with 407 students in 2001, or just 2021, and we're at, I believe, 578 this year. So that's district-wide, all of our 4th and 5th grade students, easily 70, 80%, in some sites even more in terms of 4th and 5th grade participation within a school. Now, that exciting growth has presented us with a good problem of figuring out how we can continue to accommodate it, since we are surpassing the coverage capacity of our current staffing model. So we're coordinating with the district on how we can work to accommodate that growth and still maintain the current program structure. So that's an overview of 4th and 5th grade music, and happy to field any questions now, or we can pass the baton to Mr. Hale to keep going about PE.
I'm Andy Hale. I'm one of the elementary PE teachers. I'm also the adaptive physical education teacher for the local district. It does give me a really good insight because I go to every school except for Hoover. That's one school I have not been to. But I do get to go into the classes with the students and see all of our amazing physical education teachers at work. So first I'm going to talk a little bit about adaptive physical education, what it is. This is a thing that we provide students with disabilities the chance to work on their gross motor skills, to get out of the classroom, to have that time for that sensory break, to move their bodies. When a student comes to me, it's referred to the IEP process. We go through an assessment, and it looks at their gross motor, their object control, their physical fitness to determine if they are eligible. Now, if they are determined eligible, there's a few different ways that we work with students. One would be us pushing into classrooms. So me going in with that student to their PE classroom, and it could be with an aide as well. I could also do one-on-one services, using the students with more severe disabilities that can't be in a regular PE classroom safely, or in small groups. Like over at Roosevelt, we have a group of 8 students come together, so we can all kind of work together. Another thing I do is I provide general education PE teachers with modified equipment, modifications to exercises or activities, and strategies for working with these students. I also work with their aides. So at BIS, when every student goes to PE and they have an aide with them, I'm there once a week with those students. So the other days they're with their aide and their PE teacher. So I work with them so that they can support these students from there. We implement these strategies based on their IEP goals. It's not just the goals we work on kind of a whole body approach. We do have to focus on 1 or 2 things. Another thing we do is we attend all the annual and triennial IEP meetings, along with the transition from elementary to middle and middle to high school to provide the next step in the student's educational career so that they have a good start. Next thing I love to talk about is our Special Olympics. Last year we did come to an agreement with 4 districts, us, San Mateo, Foster City, Hillsborough, and Millbrae school districts, with the help of Special Olympics Northern California. And we've agreed that we each would run 1 event each year. And so this year we had students attend 3 events. Our first one of the year was our Burlingame one. We did soccer last year. This year we did basketball. I got to show off the sweet new gym we have. At that event, we had, I think, over 50 students with disabilities from those districts come in. And we actually had over 120 BIS students come and volunteer. So they helped us out with stations. We had fans in the stands. They were cheering everybody on. It was a really great experience, just to show that these students and everybody that, our school does support them in what they do. Some other things they did this year was Hillsborough has Superhero Skills Day for our younger students. You'll see a couple pictures in a little bit. And Millbrae had a track and field event. So we do, some events are for middle school students, some events are for our younger students. But going forward, we'll have 4 events every year for these students to get out and want to be around other students like them. They are usually in a small classroom or, mainstream with, maybe 1 or 2 other students. And seeing all these students together and seeing them having fun and moving their bodies was really why I do it. Another thing is next week we are meeting all of us together, and I'm trying to get an answer if the BIS can be a Special Olympic champion school or unified champion school. If that does not happen this year, we will be. I promise you that. Actually, coming up next, we have a couple slides of some of our students. This is our track and field event with some of our BIS students. So you see some going through our hurdles. They all make signs. The events that we run it's just a really good chance for everybody to come together. Our next slide, we have, I think, 1 more track, and we have a couple of our students at our Superhero Skills Day. They all dressed up in their superhero costumes, and it was a really fun event. So next, I'm just going to go quickly kind of through some elementary physical education and then talk about our middle school. So at Burlingame School District, we do teach every student. Every student has the opportunity to have PE. Now, for the state of California, TK and K are not required, but we do provide that to them. They get, I think, about 90 minutes, 80 minutes, and 90 minutes every week. And that is a really good chance, just for them to, some people say, get the wiggles out, get the energy out. And just be able to start developing the gross motor skills. In 1st through 6th grade, it's 200 minutes of PE every 10 days, but I'm happy to say that our 6th graders actually will receive 400 minutes. Last year, we advocated for that 400-minute change from 200, and we were really happy that we were able to do that. And our 7th and 8th, they also get 400 minutes. And the PE that we do must be taught by a single subject teacher. It cannot be done by their classroom teacher. So it gives us person, a professional there that knows what they're doing, that knows, how to work with these students. Our PE teachers, we have 4 PE teachers. 3 of us rotate through 2 schools. I work at Roosevelt and Franklin. We have one that does Franklin and Lincoln, one that's Washington and Hoover, and then we have 1 teacher at McKinley that is part of our social language. So he So the PE teacher that is there speaks both English and Spanish, which absolutely we go to communicate with the students. Another thing I really want to highlight is that PE teachers have a very unique opportunity to work with students every year. And we can build bonds, we can build trust, we can establish bonds and a sense of consistency. And the classroom teachers are absolutely important, and they'll see them in the hallways. We get to work with kids from elementary, from TK to 5th grade. Every year, we will see them. Every year, we get to work with them 3 days a week or 2 days a week. So it gives them a chance for us to build relationships, know our students, know their strengths, knows where they need to grow. And it's a sense of consistency for them. They will see us around school. They will always be seeing us each and every year. Another thing I want to shout out is our district providing PE teachers with specific professional learning. During our staff development days, our whole PE department goes and we work with trained professionals, award national, we recognize. I want to shout out Terry Glass, she is my hero. But we spend that whole day just working on specific PE skills. And it's a really good thing. They give us a ton of tools that we will always be implementing every time that we get. A little bit closer look at what we do for elementary. So every grade level has about 57 content specific standards. It's a lot, but it's a lot of fun. So some of those things we do: locomotor skills, rhythmic skills, fitness, aerobic capacity. We work on muscular strength. But a big one is work with self-responsibility and social interaction. This is our one time we can get students out of the classroom working together in competitive situations. So some of the things that we work on is teamwork with classmates. I tell kids every year, these are the students that are in your class this whole year. We need to learn to work together. These are who you're going to be with. We help them settle disputes. We help them own their own actions. We teach good sportsmanship when they win and when they lose. Self-advocacy. We have kids helping them. Tell us, when do you need help? That's a really big thing. Is kids noticing and being able to identify when they need to come ask somebody for help. And we also teach them how to handle adversity. Another thing our teachers do is every 5th and 7th grader completes our fitness gram test. It's a state requirement, and it helps build a correlation between physical fitness and academic achievements. Now, all of these skills we teach, they can bring back into their classroom and back into their community. Now, that's what I'm going to talk a bit about middle school physical education. I had a little bit of experience in my previous job, but again, I've been each of these teachers' classrooms the last 3 years, so I get to really see kind of the magic that they work. So we have 4.5 PE teachers, so 4 full-time, 1 half, and they teach 1 to 2 grades. It is 4 days a week, and 1 day being a longer block period, but they focus on fitness. They work out Wednesdays for what they call Tuesdays. It's another great one. Also, our students have access outside of the classroom. BIS has their own ultimate frisbee team. You go into that hallway, you'll see they are award-winning. There's a lot of trophies and a lot of ribbons there. And also through our Parks and Rec department, they are offered basketball and volleyball teams. At BIS, we also do staff for student games in ultimate frisbee, softball, basketball, and volleyball. So they get a chance to actually play against their teachers. So the one big thing, as they move from elementary to middle school PE, is we start building more complex and skills. All right, moves away from the basic movement skills of skipping, jogging, kicking, and throwing, to building an understanding and being able to explain games and movements and explain certain techniques. I've worked with students helping them create exercise plans, strategies for games, and a better understanding of the human body and its functions. So really building a more complex, the whole understanding of what the body is, how to move it, and why to move it. Another big thing is we do teach dancing. We have a couple of teachers that are excellent line dancers. I'm trying to learn myself, we're getting there. But they do cultural dances like Jimmy Queen sticks. And a lot of us do line dances and folk dances. So it's a way for us to kind of build a little bit of history also into our PE classroom. So I do want to absolutely shout out BCE because I would not be here without their support and their funding. So thank you very much from all our PE teachers to them.
Thank you very much. Other questions for these wonderful teachers? I have 2 questions.
I have one question. I was just, if we could go back to 5th grade for a moment. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the transition from 5th grade to BIS and sort of, because I know there's things that have been happening, make sure that smoothly?
Yeah, I don't even know if we still have that on the slide that I did, because there was one about how we build responsibility with all of the fifth graders and the different things that they do on their way up to BIS. So we're really trying to, get them, and now off the top of my head, because I don't have my slides in front of me, and I'm trying to remember what these are. I was trying to represent every single school, because everybody does something a little bit different, but like we do, TKK helpers, so the fifth graders are really trying to build more responsibility and independence and helping out younger students in grade levels. They have a lot more responsibility, and even like choosing where they sit at lunch and when they get to eat at lunch, they start having to be a little more responsible for that, because they get to do that at BIS. Student council, they start up in the upper grade levels, because we know they have that at BIS. Teddy talks, speeches, things like that that they do in upper grade levels. All of that are things that kind of lead up into helping them become a little more independent. We really talk a lot about self-advocating. That's a really big thing, is nobody's gonna do it for you, especially with BIS. They expect you to already do these things. So we really are trying to work on that in the upper grades as well, so that they get more comfortable coming to you and asking questions or emailing you if they need anything. Using Google Classroom is really important, because a lot of times at BIS, a lot of those classes use Google Classroom. So the kids have to learn to be really responsible on their own, and to go onto those sites to really figure out what their assignments are, what grades maybe are missing, things like that. So those are the things we're trying to.
I was gonna ask the same question about the junior high transition, although Greg says I'm not allowed to call it that. I was also gonna shout out Principal Land for great work in outreaching to the fifth grade. I've heard a lot of positive feedback from the PTAs and the students about you going to school, so thank you for helping that challenging time, right?
If I can talk to that a little bit, because we used to do that in the past and then we stopped for a while, and I'm really glad that Greg has brought that back. I think that makes a really huge difference, having sixth graders and counselors come to the fifth grades to talk to them, but also allowing us to come up to the school and get to meet some of the sixth graders. We get tours, they really get to talk to the students in that moment about what it's like. It just gives them, it lets them just like get a little sigh of relief, because they get to at least see it before they go up there and before there's other tours in August. So I know there's the upper grades, and I think the other schools would agree that we're really happy that that has been wrong.
I had a music question. Mr. C, you spoke about the success and the growth of the program, and I remember we talked about this last year, the challenges that it has. And one challenge we talked about last year was maintaining the equipment throughout the year and then over the summer. Any updates on that? Is any changes?
Specifically equipment?
With maintenance of the equipment.
So we've been able to turn over a lot of equipment that has gone past its lifespan, especially equipment where the expense of repairing an instrument eclipses its initial value. That's a red flag in the district. If we have equipment that we're spending so much money fixing, where it's more expensive than it would be to just replace it. So we've been able to turn over several dozen instruments, which is good. We, at the end of each year, have our program shutdown logistics that we partake in about the last week and a half, 2 weeks of school, where we bring equipment back in. We're assessing, we're cleaning, we're diagnosing where repairs and investments are needed. We send stuff out at the end of June with repair vendors. We have local vendors here in Burlingame, as well as South City or in East Bay, and they service the instruments that we need. They come back, so we're pretty comfortably offering any student in the district that is seeking an instrument one, and each year our maintenance and quality of it has been improving, which is good. Even as we have grown the overall participation of the program, we said about 38%. We did reword this year, especially we reworded some of our language at the beginning of the year in terms of how we advertise that there's a district instrument available to fourth and fifth grade students on the basis of need, in part to not get so many requests that we couldn't provide, and that was helpful. Rewording our language brought the number of requests down significantly, which we believe has allowed the equipment that we have to go to the areas where it is most needed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now one quick PE question.
Yes.
Does any of your work, do you work with our district OT sometimes?
Yes, we work with our district OT and PT. So we have conversations with our students that overlap, and we share some of our findings and help just identify the best way to help support these students. So we do have conversations throughout the year.
and work with them to try to help these students.
Wonderful, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so
So
much.
thank you all for being here. We realize May is the time. Thank you. Thank you. Right, Matt, we are on item 13B, special education.
Deputy Superintendent, Satina. It's gone. There.
This would be an informational item.
Thanks. Here to present the special education update for the year. A special thanks to our program specialist, Christina Granino, and our interim program specialist, Monica Darshini, and their work with this presentation, but leading up to this presentation is been hugely beneficial to the district and myself as I learned the scope of the work in Burlingame. So next slide. So the base of special education identification is through a child find process, and through the child find process, through the child find process, we are responsible for students at the age of 3 years old. That is students that are identified. We need to locate, we need to evaluate those students. What it basically means is if there's evidence of and we have knowledge of, we need to evaluate. That is for students that are enrolled or not enrolled in our district. Next slide. When we talk about the foundation work of special education is what's also always referred to as FAPE, which is a free appropriate public education. And that provides individualized education under IEP that we have to do at no cost to our families. Next slide. And when we talk about in a perfect situation, we want to always identify a least restrictive environment, also known as LRE, for our students. And least restrictive environment basically means to maximum extent appropriate children with disabilities, including children in public or private institutions or other facilities. Educate those children with no identifiable disabilities as much as possible. That's in a variety of different programs, whether it's SAI, SDC, or in a non-public school. An example of this would be, for example, a student with dyslexia having pull-up services in reading and instruction. Next slide. So sort of the continuum of how you would look for where a student would be and services that we provide. Going from the far left would be the most least restricted environment, which would be a general education setting. And moving across through small group or push-in or pull out, and then special education classrooms like SDC, then moving along the continuum to non-public school. And then finally, smallest group that we would serve is home hospital or residential facilities. Next slide. You can see sort of a general breakdown of where Burlingame School District falls in percentages on this slide, with 90% of our students falling in general education, and then percentages across the board where it's small group push-in, pull out for students who do have an IEP, which basically means that they're being served at 55 to 90% in the general education setting. And then students in SBC or special day classes, it's about 2% of our student enrollment. Less than 1% of our students, fewer than 1% of our students are in non-public school. And then finally, a very small number of students in the home hospital or residential facility. Next slide. This gives you a scope of the historical data of students who have IEPs. This includes MPS students. Important to note on this, a few things to note on this slide. Real good data to track. These are not percentages. These are ends. So these are individual students. You can see, there's a bold, 2015, preschool PS at the top, and you have 32 students in 2015. You can track the student group all the way to 8th grade. So, when you look at the slide, you can go by year, you can see a sharp increase. The reason for this is if you look at our enrollment, the numbers in the past were based on CBEDS, which are census data, data that we do in October. For this slide, though, I did capture our April 30th numbers to show what we'll end up at the end of the year. And so this is it'll still show a sharp increase for the year.
But is it also fair to say we test more and look for these things and parents are more aware of these things than they were 5 to 10 years ago?
Absolutely. You could also see in preschool, TKK in 1st grade and 2nd grade, the numbers have increased year over year. One thing to consider is that the students who are coming now are not students who are being served during the years after COVID. And so now they are here with us as 5, 6, 7-year-olds. Those were students who were not being generally served when they were not in school prior to enrollment. And then now those students with all the things that COVID presented over those 18 months, we're seeing that sort of play out in some of our identification.
I do want to add though, just to Dan's comment, the 367 is as of April 30th, the 311 is as of a beginning day in October. So just think of all the students you add throughout the year.
It's about 18 months. So comparing, it's about 18 months worth of data as opposed to all the other data points are year over year.
Right.
So it's going to be larger.
You would exit kids in June previous year. So it'd be a lower number in October of the 24.
Yeah,
if we would have pulled an October date, is what I'm saying, for census day.
Absolutely.
Right.
But you can see that when you go year by year and you go down the chart, so grade level and go to year below, you can see that generally it's not a huge jump going year over year if you track the cohort from year to year, starting in the preschool.
Can I ask one more follow-up question?
Sure.
And you don't have to know this now, maybe another time. Just anecdotally, is that consistent across different districts, high school, middle school, and elementary, just growth in IEPs the last 5 years or so?
I would say in general across the state, yes. Okay. That's what the data is showing when we go to state conferences, national conferences, a rise in general, rise in behavioral identification is ever increasing, much more than 10 years ago. For example, I think it's up 400 or 500%, something to that. Thank you.
Another question. The educational placement continuum, is that something that's specified by the California or the county, or is this specified by Burlingame? Like this is the continuum?
Yeah, you would see this continuum in every district in some form.
Okay.
Next slide. On this slide, what we want to illustrate with the data from the previous slide, what was Burlingame's response in the form of staff, supports, and structure? And you can see the first 3 years post-COVID, the types of supports that we embedded, the increase in behavioral needs of students, and our response by hiring behavioral aides, behaviorists. And as we increased in 23-24, the staffing increase that was approved by the board and to support our IEP students. And then finally, this current year, we're reviewing those increases, and with support, we continue to increase staffing in this area of support. This slide will again show a pretty sharp increase of 1% year over year. But again, I want to emphasize that this is comparing the current data from April 30th. It's about 18 months as opposed to 12 months worth of data. And so it does show about 10.7%, almost 11% students with IEPs. I want to share that that is generally on the lower end compared to other districts in our county and in our state. Here we're showing the most common eligibilities by the primary eligibility. With speech language being the vast majority, the largest number of students receiving those services. SLD or specific learning disability, followed closely by OHI or other health impairment. And again, this is census data from April. Next slide. IEP assessment overview, in summary, this gives you an idea of students who are having assessments or what they were initially assessed for from Burlingame students compared to private schools and preschool students. And who we're serving, and so the number 367 aligns with the chart for the 24 school year as of April 30th. This is a very important data piece and point of emphasis in the county and in our area and in Burlingame. This slide shows you the enrollment, which will be in blue as a bar graph. This is the percentage by race or ethnicity. And then the IEP enrollment percentage by total number of IEP students.
Yeah, that's good. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just going to point out as a point, you can see less than 1% of our student population are, for example, are Black or African American, and you can see a greater number than 1% are those students are identified as IEP students.
And I was going to ask you about the Hispanic number there. It's overrepresented, and I know we've talked about this at district level before. My question is similar to the last one. Generally, you can follow up later if you want. Is that number consistent across the state or the Bay Area?
At least
overrepresented
in this area, absolutely it is consistent. It's consistent with the high school district. It's consistent with our partner districts up and down, San Bruno, Millbrae, and San Mateo, Foster City, and other school districts down. It's a number that is tracked and really important for identification of students in certain subgroups and specific subgroups. It's also really important data for us to track as a group ongoing. It's something that's brought up in all the different assessments when we talk about making sure that we're not over-identifying because of language issues. That's really specific to the disability that's present. This slide's a new one for me, so learning about it as we go, but a maintenance of effort and expenses. And you can see here that there's an expectation that you know, for this test that is done, that it's the numbers 10% over the last year that we passed. And you can see the last 3 years prior, just coming out of let's see, in the distance learning year of 2021, the subsequent year coming out of distance learning, and the subsequent 2 years where we passed in 23-24 by exceeding the 10% threshold for expenditures for our special education department and our IEP students. That includes all aspects of special education, including NPS, private school, that's all expenditures.
Can I ask a question about this one? Which I've asked before, but I think it's important for everyone who's looking at this. So, I mean, this rule doesn't, I know it's state codes that doesn't make a lot of sense to me because it's, first of all, we're obligated to meet the needs of all students that we identify, which we do, should and do. But they're also telling us we need to spend more each year. And I know we spend what we're supposed to, what we need to spend, but you were more likely to speak to what the exception process is, or if we have a cohort that promotes to the high school that was particularly high need and it comes out of the budget. How do we manage our compliance with this rule?
I'm always the one place where you want to fail, but when you fail, you have to write a letter, right? And that's exactly kind of what you're talking about. So when you fail, that means you did not meet the threshold because you did not spend the same amount or more. And that's usually when you have a high group of students that are going up, they're graduating out. You have high cost staff that might be retiring. you have actually done a great job of recruitment and retention, which Director Afshar does, of making sure that we're getting rid of contracts and we're bringing in-house people. So it's a lot of work that you're doing across departments.
Yeah.
So it's an area where 3 years in a row, we did a good job of failing. So you really watch those costs. It's an important thing where you have to watch your SACS codes and make sure that you're doing that. It's very hard to do, and most districts actually don't do it on a normal basis. But that is something, but the thing where you pass, it is a tight threshold. And we are obligated to educate every student. If we have high cost students move in, we have to make sure that we are giving them the education that they deserve to educate them. And we often do not pass, because that is what our obligation is to do. And you have to remember, every student is a general ed student first, so all of that money comes into them first, and then we get special education money for them too.
And if you're tracking this data point for this year, I bet we're gonna fail for next year.
No, we're gonna pass,
We're gonna pass.
right? We're expected to,
Close.
because it's reversed. That's what gets very confusing to people. We're gonna pass, we're gonna overspend what this was on this point. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
to answer
it
your
is.
question?
Yeah.
But it depends on also the students you have. It's nothing that a district is really doing either. It depends upon our population and what we have. It doesn't matter necessarily what everybody's doing in the room. It can be how we're supporting our students too.
And would COVID have affected those first 3 years, or?
A lot of things said, so to your point, 2020, 2021, we had no transportation costs. Right, so right there's a great savings for a district. A lot of therapy was done teletherapy. We weren't paying mileage. You could double up things. I mean, there were a lot of components that were easy to be able to please at that time. So you're absolutely right. There were things. This is, unfortunately, when you look at data, you're looking at one data point. You're not hearing the story. This doesn't tell stories about little Marla, who might have been a $300,000 student, or a student that was in a residential treatment facility that could have had a $20,000 a month bill. It doesn't tell the stories.
What is the consequence of failing or passing this? You said right away.
So passing means that you spent more. Failing means that Murray and special ed, we get together with the CBO, and you have to explain why you did not spend the same amount or more, and you have to justify it, because costs go up every year. So you have to spend an additional, what you spent last year plus an additional amount more. Otherwise, you have to explain why you're reducing your costs. Because when a cost from 1 year to the next, there's cost of living adjustments, there's raises for staff, there's all these other factors to go into it. So the state expects you to spend the exact same amount plus an additional amount. So if you don't, why aren't you? Where are you failing those students? Why aren't you giving them the same amount of education or more? You have to justify it. Marie, is there anything you would add to that?
Yeah.
From the CEO side?
Yeah, with the maintenance of effort, so they look at the last time that you passed. So now our baseline is going to be 3.9.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, this is kind of different to where if we fail, it's not really a bad thing, as long as we can explain why. Like Dr. Silverstein said, during COVID, there was a lot of districts that didn't pass because there were no transportation costs and no mileage reimbursements. And a lot of expenditures were reduced. And some years there are more contract services, either because we don't have the staff or there are more services. So it really depends on students and what services we're providing. As long as we are providing services, and in years that we do fail, as long as we can explain.
Our last pass rate was 3.4.
Yes.
3.4 million.
And that was either in 1920,
I think,
or 1819.
So just for next year, we would need 4.4, right? About 4.4 million. Does it be compared to this amount?
They would compare to.
They're going 3.9.
About 4.4.
Plus the 10% is what Dawn's saying. Right. It's very confusing.
Thank you, Don. Please continue.
All right, next slide. This is just a summary of the 24-25 goals that were presented last year. It's sort of just an assessment of where we're at. The Special Education District Advisory Committee, led by Stevens family and that committee, have been doing wonderful work organizing a variety of different community events, doing amazing work. We've seen some of their newsletters and information coming out. I would say they've done a fantastic job. As we look at some of the other goals, focusing on UDL, education on law and co-teaching models for our general education and classified staff, we're continuing to improve in this area, and then our work with the supporting innovative practices SIP program. I would say we've definitely met that goal of our use with our 3 sessions that we had with over 60 staff members being trained by SIP. Next slide. This is a slide commemorating and also our recognition by SIP for Burlingame that we shared at a previous board. Next slide. This slide illustrates the transition. So we talked earlier about the transitions in regards to 5th grade. This is specific to our IEP students and what is possible for those transitions, the work that's done between the elementary schools and BIS, with Trojan Camp, BIS tours, parent information night, and then the transitional IEPs that take place. And then transition from preschool to TK, with the inclusion opportunities being presented, and a lot of work that I obviously have a lot of history with is the transition from 8th grade to the high school district. Those transition IEPs are happening right now. I've been going on for about 2 weeks. We'll continue for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So understanding that there's a transition IEP between a case manager at BIS and then with the subsequent receiving school and their case manager team from the high school district. I've been sitting in on some of those transition IEPs, fantastic support, and parents are very happy with the work that's been done. Students are going to miss BIS, but really excited about their high school plan for support continuing. Next slide. We had some goals in relation to department meetings. I would say this is a little incomplete. I think that we started the year strong, and we had a couple here in the spring, but I would like to see that monthly going forward. So this is incomplete, and we'll continue to work on that for the following year. We do have grade level and multi-level supports planning going on. We have opportunities for team building and client check-ins. Still more work to be done. We have begun de-escalation training for child safe by our behaviorist training staff. We had about 15 folks certified. We're going to continue with that in August for some of our classified staff. We're going to see this evolve over time and continue to get staff trained. It's really great having behaviorists who are trained for certification because it allows for things to be done in-house. We'll talk about that with restorative practices also on a slide later. And then we're working on the best recruitment practices and strategies and position control management, continuing with our human resource department. Next slide. So looking ahead, we're looking at to continue our SIP work by moving to a coaching plan, a coaching model. We already have a couple schools that will be working with the SIP coaches, continuing to work on position control and trying to reduce our contracted workers as much as possible. We will be getting staff classified and certificated trained in restorative practices, having 9 train the trainers in the district for restorative practices. We really help the climate inside and outside the classroom as more staff are trained. Again, talking about continual de-escalation skills. trainings throughout the 25-26 school year. We will continue to do IEP and special education information system SACE trainings, and also following the best legal practices for our IEPs, make sure that we're doing everything correctly. Then finally, instructional tiered levels of support will continue with our MTSS models that we continue to work on by site, and then finally continuing with the department meetings and emphasizing that this is something we want to do on a monthly basis with our staff. Next slide. That's it. So, any questions? We've been asking questions all along, but if you have any,
Any questions?
I do have a question just about the third bullet point on this last slide about staff being trained. I know we've had some folks do the train the trainers piece. Can you talk a little bit about how that will roll out?
Yeah, so we have two behaviors who are trained to be certified to do certification. So we'll be on the PE days. We will have our classified paraprofessionals will be trained, and our behaviorist aides will be trained on de-escalation skills. And then throughout the year, we're going to develop a plan, probably emphasizing some half days, pullouts, and or after school trainings with our staff, certificated staff, to make sure that all case managers and special education staff are trained. De-escalation is not just an IEP support group. Campus supervisors should also be trained. Instructional aides should also be trained. Eventually, you want to have as many folks trained as possible. Administrators should be trained too. And so this is having this in-house and then building out sort of a plan that can get as many folks trained as possible. Realizing that it's 16 hours of training for the certification.
Sorry, were you talking about the bullet 3 restorative practices?
I was talking about restorative practices.
Yeah, the bullet.
That was even, it's following very similar. It's following very similar. So for restorative practices, we're starting with our administrative teams and our site secretaries being trained in June. Then we're going to have our behaviorists and our behaviorist counselors and psychologists will be trained in June for 2 days. The idea here is that all the trained individuals can actually use that inside or outside of the classroom. As we go into August, we'll be doing sort of a first responder. So the folks that are sort of going to be the leaders on their campuses, the teachers that are going to be the ones that staff will go to answer questions about this work, the ones who are very first interested. Then we will evolve in the training the folks in we'll evolve to a point where I think we're training at sites and at the discretion of the principal as it builds into their plan. So for example, Hoover wants to be trained throughout and have it complete in the fall. There's other campuses that are looking at maybe the spring for completing the training. And then we have our PD day in January that we will have this as one of our breakouts for staff.
The teacher in charge job description actually has an extra day for items like this. If there's people off, there's an extra day in their job description as part of their stipend.
Any further questions? Thank you very much, John. Move on to item 13C. Cursive handwriting. Is this you, Matt?
That's me. This is me. I've been practicing over here.
All right.
Yeah.
Look forward to seeing.
I'm actually been quite good. So California Assembly Bill 446 took effect on January 1st, 2024. This bill amends the Education Code 51210 to have handwriting instruction for grades 1 through 6, including cursive or joined italics instruction at appropriate grade levels. So while the California Department of Education allows local education agencies to determine the specific grade levels for implementation, it's worth noting that cursive instruction is already embedded within the California Common Core State Standards for English Language Arts and Literacy. But after careful consideration and research, I recommend adopting handwriting without tears curriculum for grades 1 through 3. In contrast, grades 4 and 5 students will focus on reading cursive documents. This recommendation includes a proposal to add cursive handwriting category to the report cards. Handwriting without tears provides a structured approach that creates consistency across grade levels. This is crucial as our students progress through elementary school. Occupational therapists develop the curriculum with a deep understanding of how children develop fine motor skills. It's designed to match students' cognitive and motor skills developed at each grade level, making it developmentally appropriate for our population. So our purchase would include teacher guides and supporting materials that make the implementation straightforward for educators. Importantly, handwriting without tears has been successfully implemented in schools nationwide with proven results. But beyond compliance with state legislation, cursive instruction has significant benefits that will serve our students well. Research shows clear cognitive benefits to learning cursive. Education experts note that handwriting activates different parts of the brain that are not engaged when printing block letters or typing. It improves fine motor skills and hand-eye coordination while enhancing memory and learning through muscle memory. From an educational perspective, cursive writing makes writing fluency easier for many children, including those who show signs of dyslexia. Learning cursive enables students to read historical documents and handwritten text, connecting them to our shared cultural heritage. It also develops signature writing skills that will be needed throughout their lives. If approved, our implementation timeline will commence immediately. So in June, we will procure all necessary materials, allowing for full curriculum integration when our students return in August. Throughout the academic year, we will discuss the program's effectiveness with staff, making targeted adjustments based on quantifiable outcomes and teacher feedback. This approach ensures accountability and continuous improvement as we implement this initiative. For the fiscal impact, this proposal is quite modest. We would need to purchase teacher guides at $24.99 each for approximately 50 teachers, totaling $1,250. Additionally, supporting materials would cost approximately $2,000. The total estimated budget for this initiative is $3,250. With your approval this evening, we will move forward with purchasing instructional materials and our teachers, and we'll be updating the report card this summer developing assessments to students to assess student progress. In conclusion, implementing handwriting without tears for grades 1 through 3 while focusing on cursive reading for 4 or 5 will ensure our district's compliance with AB 446 while providing our students with essential handwriting skills. This initiative aligns with our commitment to academic excellence and meet state requirements. So I respectfully request the board's approval for this proposal.
Could you clarify for me what you're asking the board to vote for?
So yeah, so we're to buy teacher guides for our lower grade teachers, first through third, and some supporting materials, mostly journals and paper and things like that.
And so there's a different plan though, 1 through 3.
1 through 3. So 3 and 4 actually have it as a standard to be working on this. It's been there for a while. So it will be on both cards, but the idea is that by 3rd grade, especially with the cognitive benefits, by 3rd grade, we would expect that most of our students would be writing or be able to write in cursive. The next step would be to read in cursive.
Are there questions on this matter?
I have some questions. Just sort of looking at this and kind of thinking about us in Burlingame historically. I feel like one of the things that is so powerful about the Burlingame School District is the way we go to the people who were sort of boots on the ground. When we're making decisions about curriculum, about report card adjustments, and about that kind of thing. So can you sort of help me understand how we got here and have we had enough time to go to those teachers and, you know, particularly first and second grade teachers?
Absolutely.
You know, it feels like I would love to see more of that conversation happen before we move forward.
Yeah.
Before I feel comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of the issue was the timing of it. So January, and it's happened in 2024, so we had to do some catch up. We have been talking about report card grade and standards throughout the whole year. This cursive has not been part of it, so my hope is to be a small piece of this. Certainly ongoing, there will be discussions with staff to see how this is going, what's appropriate and what's not. I agree completely that those are the experts in the field. It's interesting though, two of the teachers I used to have arguments about this were here tonight about them. So they would probably stood up and said, you know, big proponent of this work. So anyway, it'll be an ongoing process that we'll have to adjust. So we're going to do, moving forward, we're doing a lot of that anyway, for a lot of communication around what's working, what's not working on the sites, and do the same with the teachers. This will just be a part of that. This plan.
And just to be clear, I am fully in support of cursive. I taught 3rd grade for many, many years, and my students earned both a cursive permit and a cursive license. in cursive. So I'm definitely a supporter of this. I do feel like, we're looking at some of the materials that were provided, particularly the materials around, that it's up to every local education agency to make the determination about the grade level at which this instruction starts to happen. And it sort of feels like we're at a point where this is sort of a blanket, we're gonna start it in first grade, and I'd really like to see more conversation before I would feel comfortable moving forward with this program. I don't know how.
Can I ask either Matt or Marla to speak, because I was a little unclear, what grade level teachers have you reached out to, what's their feedback?
We had discussions with our occupational therapists, actually, our occupational therapists, about what would be appropriate and what programs we should be looking at, and then reach out around the county, to see what programs that they're using.
And then with respect to our staff.
So this staff, there wasn't much of a conversation around this. The general consensus is this has been used before. In classrooms, handwriting bachelor's comes with a seal of approval from our staff, the one that I worked with before. But generally specific questions to trustee Gates, no, there has not been a direct conversation with staff.
Can we set some of those up? Can we maybe table this for tonight and come back?
Absolutely, we won't get started with the presentation. I will talk to, absolutely.
I would just ask one question on timing. So this is a very long $3,000 for the district. So if we do elect to move forward with this, do we need to order the materials now or can we wait?
No, absolutely, wait. I bet if we were in August, we'd get the names.
Okay.
It's not a chance.
That was one question I had.
Yeah.
Are there any legal obligations to move forward tonight? Are there any practical pros and cons moving forward or pausing this, or just from your point of view, or Matt's point of view?
No, I mean, really, we have time. Well, we don't because it started in 2024, but we do when after school starts.
How realistic is it to meet with our teachers this time of year to go over something like this with only? I mean, is that something that's done?
We just had our last grade meeting today, but it can be, I can put together stuff. I do.
I think it's realistic to incorporate the conversation with them. I also think, I mean, nothing says that it has to start the first day of school. And I think that there absolutely can be a conversation, especially as this spans 7 grade levels. So we know you're gonna have a lot of conversations that.
Well, I probably would be
grade 1 through 6.
Probably the real conversation needs to happen with our first and second grade teachers, because third and fourth grade it is embedded into the standards. So first and second grade teachers say, no. We would then just probably say, well,
I think
third
though,
and fourth may not have to show.
I think though, the conversation on that, because it did start January 1, 2024, and it is grades 1 through 6. I mean, you're gonna have to have a starting point, and we have the obligation to the kids that didn't get it in first and second, that are going up in grades too. So at some point in time, we need to have some cut lines. So I do think that to trustee Jay's point, I mean, I think that we have to have a starting time, right? We have to have we have to start a period. We've been talking about it for a while now. So there has to be by this time there will be an adopted curriculum, an adopted book, right? This is Ed Code. That started January 1 of 24. So there has to be some sort of, like, this is when we're gonna do it time, but conversation with more people and making it larger. It's understandable too.
And I do think it does sound like it's maybe 2 different conversations, right? There's a conversation where I think to your point, Matt, like 3rd and 4th grade, where it's already embedded in the California Common Core standards, where, and Benchmark does a first component technically, right? I used it. I used it.
Yeah.
I used it. Thank you for saying that.
Yes.
And I don't think it's necessarily as strong as handwriting in that years, quite frankly, but there is already that component does exist. So it does feel like it's maybe 2 separate conversations, a 3rd and 4th grade conversation about, like, let's really formalize the way cursive instruction is happening. And then maybe it's the first and second grade conversation around, hey, this is, you know, this bill exists, right? Because I think for a lot of people that might be new information, right? And say, so what do we in Burlingame envision this looking like for our first and second graders? And I feel like that conversation is different from the like, let's figure out what's the curriculum that's gonna happen for our third and fourth graders. And then I think to the point of, let's make sure we have a way for our students who are already in third grade and fourth grade and fifth grade and haven't gotten any formal instruction in cursive. And if they can't write in cursive, they can't read in cursive, right? And so how do we go back and fill those gaps to exist?
Absolutely, that would be part of the ongoing conversation, for sure.
So it sounds like there's several ideas on the table, so let me just clarify. One is we can vote to approve this, and that's that, and then goes with staff from there. Two, we vote to approve with instructions to follow up in certain ways. Three is we pause or table this for now with instructions, requests to meet with teaching personnel, site leaders. That's what I'm understanding. I'm hearing from the board members right now is that, and from staff as well. But we also need to be cognizant of deadlines. The superintendent is discussing if we choose one of those options. But I'm a little unclear where consensus is from the board. So we'll start on this side. Trustee Mustafa.
I would be comfortable voting with the parameters in place to meet with our education professional. See how that's going to be.
So you would like to go to approve, but instruct staff to follow up?
I would be comfortable with that. I would also be comfortable tabling it for this, voting next month with more information.
Daniel?
I'd probably want to go with approval plus gather some additional information.
I would be comfortable at this point approving for, say, third and fourth grade, a purchase for third and fourth grade, and then a conversation, third, fourth grade and beyond.
Different options. Okay.
Yes. And then a conversation with our first and second grade teachers about how it's.
Before we go further, is something like that possible? That even, and I'm unclear that staff is capable of doing that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Having versus third and fourth, and then having discussion of others. Yeah.
Figuring out what it looks like.
Absolutely.
First and second, before we go make a purchase. Again, because it's already part of the curriculum for third grade and beyond, you know, I would feel more comfortable with that. But given that it's not currently, I would want there to be more conversation with our first and second grade teachers before we go making a purchase of a curriculum on their behalf.
May I clarify then, trustee Jay, what you're asking for is for district standards and expectations on the report card within the cursive writing for third and fourth grade? Based on the Common Core standards, because that's not on here. It's not curriculum and it's nothing. You're asking for the third and fourth grade team to pull out the essential standards in third and fourth grade for cursive writing. Is that, I'm just trying to figure out exactly what you're asking for. Sorry.
This is more about the curriculum purchase.
So, okay, because that is not what you had proposed for this evening. right?
No, it was.
So he hasn't even looked at third and fourth grade curriculum.
Okay.
So that's why I just
Yeah,
was asking for a little bit more. Because I think, I'm gonna be honest, I think that probably what needs to take place first is looking at the third and fourth grade standards, the Common Core standards, because you have not looked at the cursive standards, and third and fourth grade is one of your anchor standards, correct?
They've gone through all the standards, so they most likely did, but I have not looked at, we haven't put it all together.
Okay, but, so you don't even know if they pulled out a cursive standard to put
I
out their
can't speak to
report card?
that right now, no.
Yeah.
I think we just.
So, hearing all this, Dr. Silverman, do you have a recommendation to the board for how we should move forward tonight?
I have a recommendation that we table it at this point.
Overall?
Yes.
Okay. Board members' thoughts on that?
I'm comfortable with that.
The table, trustee Jay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, remind me of my Robert's Rules of Order. Do I need a motion?
Yes.
To table? Would someone like to make a motion to table item 13C, the handwriting curriculum? Sorry, I'm gonna ask to do that again. Do we need to also say when it's coming back?
No, we don't.
Okay, all right, so there is a motion from Katie then to table item 13C handwriting definitely. Is there a second? Thank you, Doug, seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to table passes 5-0. Right, we are moving on to business and finance and 14A. Ms. Richards, time to shine. It's coming down the aisle. I understand you have several matters for us, sir.
Yes,
All right, take it away.
thank you, trustees. Go ahead, okay. We bringing before you some additional construction contracts for your consideration. First of which is the BIS administration building the exterior shell renovation. We have a lowest responsive bid from Rodan Builders Incorporated with a recommendation to accept an award with direction to the superintendent to sign the construction contract as soon as the documents are approved by the division of the state government. So recommendation to accept an award.
I'll move to accept.
I think you know, is there a second?
Second.
80 seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Sorry, I meant, when I stop, I meant any questions. Shouldn't have, so for you. Okay. Next, okay. Next we have the bid for the BIS landscaping and irrigation phase 1. This is the portion that is separate from the donor plaza. It's the area that's right outside this building, landscaping and irrigation in that zone. We have a lowest responsive bid from Frank and Grossman Landscape Contractors with a recommendation to accept an award. Any questions?
Are there any questions?
I just had a question on this one bid. There was another bid that was lower that was non-conforming. Can you explain that?
Correct, yeah. So the bid was deemed non-responsive because they were missing a critical document in their bid forms. It's what's called a non-collusion declaration, basically a statement saying that they have not colluded with any other contractors. It's a contractor that has worked in the district, Scapes. They actually did the main irrigation controllers throughout the district previously. So it was not a anything that was untoward. It was a simple mistake. What happened was is that they submitted 2 copies of a different document and omitted that document.
So my question would be, do we have any flexibility to, because it's $35,000 less than we worked with them before?
Understood, and we have gone back and admonished them for that, so we can explain that it's costing the district, but unfortunately, our bid documents, the bid documents from legal counsel specifically say that if that document is not included, then the bid will be deemed non-responsive.
Okay.
It's a critical document, obviously, because they're going on record and stating that they have not colluded with any other contractor.
They're the low bid, so they obviously didn't collude, but yes.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, if they colluded wrong. So yes, unfortunately, we did have to then go to the next lowest bid, which is another good contractor. Franklin Grossman has done other work in the district as well. They did landscaping at Franklin several years ago, and so we know their personnel very well.
Okay, thank you. I'll move approval.
Doug moves item 15B, the BIS landscaping and irrigation. Is there a second? Thank you, Nicole. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, next we have the Hoover exterior painting. We have the lowest responsive bid from Satellite Painting with a recommendation to accept an award. Questions?
I know between this and McKinley, the different prices, and thank you for explaining bricks versus stucco. Very general question that's probably impossible to answer because variables, but how often do we repaint school buildings?
Generally, we recommend 7 to 10 years. We're not exactly on that cycle, but that's about the frequency. We're pretty close. We painted Lincoln and Washington a few years ago, and they were about on that 7 or 8 year cycle. So the recommendation is to try to stick to that. Now, that cycle. However, McKinley is a little bit different in that the side wall of the exterior buildings, because there's so much brick, it doesn't get as much wear and tear as the other campuses. So that's why, you know, it was painted obviously when we redid the facade in 2013. So we're well past that 7 to 10 year cycle for doing this painting. So, but it needs it. Now we're at the point where the upper cornice area, you can see the water standing that's coming down on the cornice pieces, etc. And so that's about the cycle that we typically try to stick to. It's a deferred maintenance project, but that's often what happens is that the projects get deferred down the line for lack of funds. So
Can I ask you a curveball question?
Sure.
How do we choose colors? Do we look at, and is there any attention paid to what reflects light or brings heat or cooling or anything like that?
Generally, the sidewalls of buildings are a fairly neutral color, beiges and earth tones. Again, because of their reflective qualities. There is a district standard, so the exterior sidewall there's two colors. There's a Ticonderoga taupe and Bar Harbor beige.
So boring or boring?
Boring and then boring earth. And then there are highlight colors. And so we find, different places, fascias and other areas where we might be able to apply a highlight color, but it doesn't require stocking a lot of that highlight color. So the benefit of picking those standard beiges is that Omar and his team, they can stock that standard color. So if there's any tag or any touch up that has to get done, it's either that Ticonderoga taupe or the Bar Harbor beige that get that color, and that's what they apply. So if you look at McKinley, there's one beige that's on the sidewall and then a slightly darker beige that's on the base of the building. Those are the standard district colors. So
and I'm sure all the paints meet all environmentally friendly, kids can
Correct.
run and breathe. And all that.
You can't buy marine grade paint anymore in California, for example. It all has to be low VOC. You can't even obtain some of that paint without going out of state. And the painting contractor won't use anything that's followable.
Anything further than with respect to Uber exterior painting or any questions? Would someone like to make a motion to approve the Uber? Each Tanya, is there a second? With the second, all those in favor?
Aye.
This is 5-0. McKinley exterior.
Okay, and similarly, we have the McKinley exterior painting. We received the lowest responsive bid from Yoda Painting Incorporated with a recommendation to accept and appoint.
Anyone like to make a motion to change the colors of McKinley to neon green or just no?
I'll make a motion to approve this.
Okay, okay. Second. Seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
This is 5-0.
Okay, thank you, trustees. Have a good evening. Don't stay too late.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
Always appreciate it. Thank you, Richard.
Great.
Right. Item 14E, review of Reserve Board Policy 3105.1, first and final read.
Yes, so, this is, board policy 3105.1, and for board policy, it is recommended that we review it at least, annually, once a year. There are no recommendations to change it, but we would, we should discuss it, and basically, this policy has minimum reserve for economic uncertainties at 10%, and it is a combined reserve percentage between what we have in the general fund and what's also in Fund 17, which is a special reserve for other than capital outlay. We have commitments currently in Fund 17 that includes the BCE Strategic Foundation support of $2.75 million, which is pretty close to what they actually provided this year at $2.8 million. And also other commitments for technology replacement of $350,000 and curriculum adoption of $2,233,730. And even with those commitments, as a second interim, we were able to meet the minimum 10% because we were at 10.6%.
Are there any questions?
No, I would support continuing to have the 10% reserve policy. Yeah.
I do as well. Any other questions or comments? Would someone like to make a motion to approve? I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Chitani seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Marie. Item 15, human resources.
This item is the celebratory moment. It's part of a triad step that we've worked on really hard as a part of our assignment monitoring. So we established earlier in the year our process for bringing forward approval of credential assignments that need a committee on assignments that gather. So often with our elective courses, we have creative ideas that are more progressive, and the credentials that are assigned for those teachers can be very specific and intensive. So what this process is it sets up a team that can review the qualifications of our teachers, especially for elective classes, to say that they're qualified to teach that class. And then, so we set up that process, and then the BIS team, the course descriptions forward, and those were approved. And so now that the process and the descriptions are approved, I'm bringing forward the recommendation of the committee on assignments for Jen and Sarah, who is teaching two electives. One is the Game of Life, and the second is Think Tank. And also for Christy Burrell, who is teaching the beauty of BIS. And we have listed the ed codes that allow for this process, and we've included their assessment of adequacy and their teacher applications. And it is both the committee and my recommendation that we approve Jen and Sarah and Christy Burrell for the electives that they are teaching. I'm also happy to answer any questions you might have. This is a process we used to do back in 2014 that I actually remember. So it's something that we've done in the past, but we're really establishing this as a part of our assignment monitoring. And I cannot thank enough the County of Education for their support in this process for us to make sure that we do it first.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments about this item?
I have a question about the committee. How do you select who's on the committee?
There is a whole process. We are looking for people with expertise, but it also is, part of it is folks who are selected by their peers to be part of it. And then also we ensure that there are folks from the district that are a part of the team, and also leadership at the site, in addition to teachers with expertise in the background. So for example, some of the work that Jen and Sarah is doing is often very English based. So Katie McNally has been a long time humanities English teacher, so she was the subject area expertise person selected with me. So it's a combination of several components. It's very thoughtful about a well-rounded.
Director Asher, at the beginning of the year, though, we did bring the process for committee on assignment to the board with the previous board of 5. And we explained that we would have the the assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction, along with the director of HR on the committee, along with the site-based people. So that there would be oversight of educational code around curriculum, along with education code and credentialing information from the director of HR, along with a site-based administrator, and then they could pick a committee of peers to be on it. So there would be oversight from all those levels. And that was approved, that committee panel was approved by the board of trustees.
And we also approved the course descriptions as well, right?
Correct, yes. Tonight, the committees met and said, yes, these people qualify to teach those courses based on all that information. So you're bringing that forward to clear them for this year.
Are there further questions or comments? Would someone like to make a motion to approve? Thank you, Nicole. Is there a second? Thank you, Katie. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Laura. Item 16, statements of board members. Who'd like to begin? We'll go for it.
Since our last regular board meeting, I chaperoned 3 field trips at Washington. It's been very good.
What to tell?
I did, yes. One was to Rheumatology today, and I still feel fresh.
My daughter said good things about you on the
Oh, the dumb. Good. I'm glad I made an impact. I attended the Special Olympics Superhero Skills Day at Crocker, which was amazing, very inspirational, had a great time. I've completed 3 and 1/4 of my master's in governance classes, and moving forward to the great bike rodeo on Saturday.
As usual, I'm very happy to see the spring concerts going as well attended and how wonderful they are to see in the music program. So I'll plus one that one again. And then second, it was also nice to hear about the collaboration between BSD and the police department that you mentioned about. So I like seeing that kind of collaboration between city organizations. It's very cool to see.
And I just wanted to share quickly that I was at a music performance, not of my own kids, but a grown-ups music performance. And one of our fellow audience members is an adult student trombone, and was talking to one of my boys who is a trombone student right now, and he was going on and on about how fortunate these boys are to have music in their lives now, and what a difference it would have made for him if he had been exposed to it as a child. He's been taking these lessons as an adult for a year and a half. And it's just really, especially with the concert coming up, the McKinley concert is tomorrow night, it just really resonated with me about how amazing it is that we are able to offer this.
Great. So I enjoyed 4 site visits with Katie, BIS, Hoover, Roosevelt, McKinley, which was great. Attended the Lincoln spring concert in this room, which was fantastic, and a couple of performers that I enjoyed at the end, including our superintendent. And been attending board meetings.
I just want to thank the district office. I think May is the hardest month of your job. You're finishing it off this year and planning for next year all at once. And it's called the 100 Days of May for a reason. So thank you. There's a lot of long hours and a lot of work there. And thank you to Richard and Omar and everyone in facilities for lining up everything in the summer. They have to get everything done in sprint every summer because there's hundreds of kids in those facilities from August. So thank you all for the work you do. Right. That concludes the statement of board members. Item 17, are there any public statements related to non-agenda items? There are none. Moves us to item 18, board requested items. I think we were currently sitting on it.
Only one is the vices.
Vices for next year, we set the previous meeting. Right? Does anyone have anything that would make board requested action items at this time?
There's one question.
Sure.
Which is, I have loved our grade level presentations. And those will be continuing through 6, 7, and 8 at some point. Will that be this year or next year? June 10th.
No,
June, okay,
yeah.
so it's this year.
Yeah.
Okay, those have been so helpful. So that's great.
Yeah, that's been an idea. Marla has talked about that for a couple of years, putting it together, and I think it's really gone well.
It's great.
And I absolutely see the growth of child, so look forward to that. Thank you for doing that. Are there any other board requested items or questions? None. 18. Are there any public comments related to closed session items? There are none. Then the time is 7:38 and the board will move to closed session. All right.